Dave Thompson, an underprepared physicist, unwittingly saves Earth from an alien invasion. Mistaking his awkward dance for a war ritual, the Zogoths prepare for battle, only to be baffled by his team's chaotic, makeshift defenses. Convinced that Earth's unpredictability is an advanced strategy, they propose an alliance to learn the power of randomness. It was a normal day at Galthix Academy, a prestigious school for the most intelligent beings from across the galaxy. Professor Yurok, a distinguished scholar with deep purple skin and 3 eyes, hovered in front of his class, explaining the delicate balance of intergalactic diplomacy. His students, creatures of various species, sat in their gravity-defying chairs, absorbing every word. The lesson was about the importance of maintaining order and civility between advanced civilizations. But all that was about to change. A sudden alarm blared through the room, interrupting the professor mid-sentence. The students' eyes widened, their tentacles and appendages fidgeting nervously. The holographic display at the center of the classroom flickered, revealing an unexpected sight, a human spaceship approaching the academy. Professor Yurok frowned, his voice tight with concern. Impossible. Humans should not have the capability to breach our planetary defenses. Whispers spread among the students. For most of them, humans were little more than a primitive species from the far reaches of space, known for their unpredictable and reckless behavior. They lacked the technological advancements and wisdom of the other species present. And yet, here was one, boldly approaching the heart of one of the most respected academic institutions in the galaxy. The human ship landed with precision just outside the academy, and moments later, a single figure appeared on the display screen, Captain Alex Carter, a human dressed in a sleek spacesuit, walking purposefully toward the entrance. The classroom doors slid open, and Carter entered, helmet under one arm, eyes scanning the room. "Who dares enter uninvited?" Professor Yurok asked, his tone commanding authority. The human stopped and stood tall. "I'm Captain Alex Carter of the Earth Exploration Fleet," the human said, their voice steady. "I'm here to learn." The room fell into stunned silence. The students were in disbelief. A human, here, at their academy? And not as a guest or diplomat, but as a student? The Galthixians viewed humans as primitive, their survival in the cosmos a result of luck more than skill or intellect. Professor Yurok's eyes narrowed. "Learn?" His voice held a note of skepticism. "Do you even understand the depths of knowledge we explore here?" Carter nodded, unfazed by the alien stares. "I understand that knowledge comes with risks. But I'm willing to take them." The tension in the room was palpable. The students shifted in their seats, unsure of what to make of this human. Humans were known for their boldness, but this act seemed outright madness. Professor Yurok studied Carter for a long moment before giving a slow, measured nod. "Very well, Captain Carter. Let us see if you can keep up." The human's face remained steady, but there was a gleam in Carter's eyes. It was the beginning of a journey that would challenge not only the human, but every assumption the galaxy held about Earth's people. Captain Alex Carter's presence in the Galthix Academy was no longer a mere curiosity, it was a disruption. Every lesson became a subtle test of the human's ability to keep up with the intellectual prowess of the galaxy's finest species. But what intrigued the alien students most was not Carter's academic ability, but the unyielding determination the human displayed in every challenge. One day, Professor Yurok prepared an intense lesson on survival in extreme environments. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered to life, showing a simulation of a hostile alien planet. The world had crushing gravity, constant acidic rain, and vicious creatures lurking in every shadow. The alien students, while accustomed to harsh environments from their own worlds, visibly recoiled at the sight. Planets like these, Professor Yurok explained, are uninhabitable for most species, even those with advanced technology. Very few have ever survived such conditions. A student from the Xylothian race, a towering figure with skin like shimmering crystal, raised a claw. Humans would never survive there, it said confidently. Their biology is far too weak. Carter, seated quietly at the back of the class, raised a hand and stood. I would. A murmur of disbelief swept through the room. Professor Yurok raised an eyebrow. You, Captain Carter, would survive on a planet that has bested many of the galaxy's greatest species? How? Carter's response was simple: humans adapt. We figure things out. The students exchanged skeptical glances, but Yurok, intrigued, decided to test Carter's claim. Very well, Captain. Enter the simulation pod, and let us see if your human adaptability is enough. Carter stepped forward without hesitation and entered the simulation pod. The rest of the class watched the holographic display, eager to see the human fail. Inside the simulation, Carter was immediately subjected to the planet's brutal conditions. Acidic rain poured down, searing through protective gear. The gravity made every movement feel like lifting a mountain. Strange, predatory creatures prowled nearby, ready to strike. The students watched with fascination as Carter used quick thinking and resourcefulness to navigate the alien terrain. Rather than relying on brute strength or advanced technology like the rest of them, Carter used the environment itself, finding shelter under a rocky outcrop, using scavenged materials to craft basic tools, and moving cautiously to avoid the creatures. For hours, Carter endured the simulation, outlasting the time limit that even seasoned survivalists would have struggled with. When the simulation finally ended, Carter stepped out, drenched in sweat but victorious. The room was silent. No one spoke, too stunned by what they had just witnessed. Professor Yurok was the first to break the silence. Remarkable, he said, his voice filled with admiration. Humans may lack the physical advantages of other species, but your tenacity and resourcefulness are unexpected. The alien students, once dismissive of the humans' abilities, now looked at Carter with a newfound respect. It was clear to everyone in the room, humans, though weaker in body, possessed a different kind of strength. And it was that strength that made them truly dangerous. As Captain Alex Carter continued attending Professor unwittingly saves Earth from the alien invasion, couldn't deny the humans' mistaking his awkward dance for a war stories ritual. Of Carter's survival in the harsh simulation only to be baffled by his team's chaotic, curiosity turned into respect. Convinced that Earth's the aliens still believe in advanced strategy, with their limited technology and lack of interstellar experience, would falter when faced with more complex challenges, particularly in the art of war. One day, Professor Yurok introduced a tactical exercise designed to test the students' strategic thinking in space combat. The lesson was focused on fleet warfare, where students would command virtual fleets of starships and armies, simulating large-scale interstellar battles. Each team had to defend their own base while attempting to destroy their opponents, using advanced tactics and coordination. Carter was assigned to lead one of the teams, alongside alien students who had little faith in their human commander. The other team, led by a particularly skilled Zanari strategist, was known for its unbeatable record in the simulation. The aliens on Carter's team muttered among themselves, unsure whether to follow the humans' lead. "We'll lose if we let the human lead," whispered a tall, insectoid being with shimmering wings. "They don't understand fleet warfare like we do." Carter, overhearing the doubts, didn't seem fazed. "I have a plan," Carter said, studying the holographic display of the battlefield. "It's risky, but it'll work." The team gathered around, listening with skepticism as Carter outlined the strategy. "We'll use a decoy fleet to draw them out. They'll think it's our main attack, but while they're distracted, we'll send a small, fast strike force to hit their base directly." The Relorii, a multi-eyed alien with glowing blue skin, shook its head. "That's madness. If the decoy is destroyed too quickly, we'll lose everything." Carter's response was calm but firm. "They won't expect us to take such a risk. That's why it'll work." Reluctantly, the team agreed to follow Carter's lead. As the simulation began, the other team, confident in their superior numbers and tactics, moved their entire fleet to engage what they believed to be Carter's main force. The decoy fleet was quickly overwhelmed, just as predicted. But while the enemy fleet was occupied, Carter's real strike force, small, agile ships, slipped through their defenses and attacked the opposing base. The enemy team, realizing too late that they had been deceived, tried to retreat and defend, but the damage was done. Carter's team won the battle. When the simulation ended, the room was filled with stunned silence. The students, especially those on Carter's team, couldn't believe what had just happened. The Zanari strategist, who had never been bested before, stared in disbelief. Professor Yurok, who had been observing the simulation with keen interest, nodded slowly. "Captain Carter," he said, his voice rich with approval, "your tactic was unconventional, to say the least. But it was brilliant in its boldness. You've shown us that sometimes, the greatest victories come from daring to do the impossible." Carter smiled, offering a modest shrug. "Sometimes, you just have to take the risk no one else is willing to." Captain Alex Carter had become more than just an anomaly at Golfix Academy. Carter was a force that challenged the very foundations of what the students thought they understood about humans. The daring survival and impossible tactics had earned Carter respect, but still, the alien students couldn't grasp the core of human nature. Why did humans take such extreme risks? What drove them to defy logic and convention at every turn? One afternoon, Professor Yurok, impressed yet curious, invited Carter to address the class about humanity's mindset. The students gathered, eager to finally understand what made humans tick. "Captain Carter," Yurok began, his deep voice resonating through the lecture hall, "your actions here have sparked something in my students. We have never seen such audacity, such defiance of traditional thinking. Tell us, what drives your species to such extremes?" Carter stepped forward, pausing for a moment to collect thoughts. "Humans," Carter began, looking at the curious faces in the room, "aren't the strongest, fastest, or smartest species in the galaxy. We know that. But what we have, what has driven us to survive, to thrive, is our ability to adapt and our relentless will to push beyond our limits. We take risks because, frankly, it's what got us this far." One of the students, a small, pale-skinned Vraxian with delicate limbs, raised a slender hand. "But surely not every risk is worth taking," it said, its voice quiet yet insistent. "What if failure is guaranteed? Why risk it all when the odds are against you?" Carter smiled, understanding the confusion. "Humans don't always have the luxury of certainty. Sometimes, the odds are against us, and yet we move forward because we believe in our ability to figure it out as we go. It's that uncertainty that pushes us to find new solutions, to innovate, to survive when others might not even try." The room fell silent as the students considered Carter's words. For beings who had grown up in societies where logic, planning, and calculated risks were the norm, this concept of embracing uncertainty and danger seemed almost reckless. But as they thought about Carter's success in the survival simulation and the impossible fleet tactic, they realized that this very recklessness had worked. A large, armored Hrothan, known for their tactical minds, crossed its thick arms and leaned forward. "So, you succeed because you're willing to fail?" Carter nodded. "Exactly. Humans aren't afraid of failure. We learn from it. Sometimes, it's in failure that we find the key to success. It's why we don't stop when things look impossible, we keep going until we make it work." Professor Yurok's 3 eyes studied Carter, admiration clear in his expression. "Perhaps that is what sets your species apart," he mused. "Many of us here have been conditioned to avoid failure, to see it as a sign of weakness. But you see it as part of the journey." The alien students began to nod in agreement. Carter had not only proven human resilience but had also opened their minds to a new way of thinking. The galaxy, they realized, was more vast and full of possibilities than they had ever imagined. And perhaps, with a bit of human daring, they, too, could reach beyond their limits.